Oh my gosh. Hello. We are live today with Albie from the Dark Wave Introverted Act Scary Black. For those of you who don't know, Scary Black is a one person band from Louisville, Kentucky, which means Albie is a composer, vocalist, instrumentalist, sound engineer, producer, among other things that it takes to be a one person musical act. So thank you, seriously, thank you so much for taking the time to do this today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course. And I have so many questions that I want to ask you. So before we dive straight into the questions, actually, just two things I want to mention. One, I do apologize. I'm just getting over being sick. So if I like have to go off to sneeze or something, I apologize for that. But secondly, as you can see out there, I'm wearing a Scary Black shirt. Got some official merch. And I know that this was kind of a limited time release that you had. Do you plan on releasing any more Scary Black merch in the near future?
Yeah, I've got a new long sleeve that I meant to get printed out, but I sometimes I get really overwhelmed with stuff and I forget to do stuff a whole lot.
Well, I mean, you're doing a lot, so
Yeah, I'm
uh,
trying to work on that. I'm really trying to work on that.
well, definitely something to look out for. So the link for Nightfall Clothing, which is your clothing brand, is in the description below. And I just took a look at your clothing brand just before we went live, and I see like most of your designs are sold out, except for there is one left. So if there are any fans out there watching, you could definitely still grab a shirt from Nightfall. Nightfall Clothing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I gotta update that site actually. God. Got a lot of stuff I need to do.
So let's just dive in to the beginning where I like to start. So I did check out the interview that you had with Obscura Undead. I think it was in 2021 or 2022.
Yeah.
And you said that you spent most of your younger years in the punk scene. So going into your goth and dark alternative origin story, before you were even involved in local scenes, what was your introduction to creepy, macabre, and the dark alternative themes?
Well, like I would say even like before I was in the I was never really part of the punk scene here when I was a kid because I don't know, I grew up in a town like 30 about 30 miles away. So it was a small town and it was just me and my group of friends that never went to shows but we liked punk music, and oh god, there was a lot of things that got me into. I don't know where to start with this really. um,
No worries. If there's anything that stands out, feel free to share that. But if not, we can kind of dive more into your group of friends. That sounds really interesting.
oh yeah, yeah. Oh man, where to start with those people? Um, yeah, we were just bad kids, like I don't know how else to put it. We used to put like Drano bombs in people's mailboxes and stuff, and it was
No way.
yeah, we would still like the land gnomes and like throw them over the bridge and stuff like
My friends did the same type of stuff.
that.
We never like I've never heard of a what did you call it? A Drano bomb?
Yeah, yeah. It's like I forgot how I guess it's like Drano and I forget how we made them. We'd shake it up and then just like put it in people's mailboxes and stuff. And why am I admitting to this right now?
Yeah, I'm sorry. You, yeah, you don't have to share anything that you don't want to. But if it makes you feel any better, me and my group of friends growing up were very similar. Like we set bird baths on fire for some ungodly reason, got chased down by a fire truck, which was a really terrifying experience. But yeah, so I understand. And to be fair, I'm sure if for whatever reason, I would like to call it troubled youth. I'm not gonna say bad kids because usually kids doing that sort of thing are troubled. So, troubled youth, definitely.
Yeah, and I don't know. Yeah, we were just really bored, in a small town, and that's how those things played out.
That also makes sense. Like, I also remember, I mean, I grew up in a relatively small town, but we would like just after Halloween go find pumpkins and smash them in the street. There was like nothing to do, so I kind of know what you mean. Um but yeah, okay, so you had this group of friends that you enjoyed punk music, you weren't going out to shows. How old were you at that time?
At that time, I was probably like 14, 15 or something. And oh, the way I got into punk music actually was my buddy, I don't even remember how we met. I guess it was in school, and he brought me up to his attic, and he had a record player, and he's like, "Have you ever heard of the Misfits?" And I was like, "No," And then he played it for me, and that was it. That's all it took for me.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. So the Misfits were kind of like your gateway.
Yeah, they really were. But I
Awesome.
more gateways like into alternative music when I was younger as well.
Oh, okay. Aw
Um, one was when I was like 7, I guess. I was 7 or 8, and like my whole family, like me and my first cousins, we all lived in the same house growing up, and one of my older cousins had left it on MTV, and um, I was just in the living room by myself. It was rare for me to just like have the TV without like anybody else around, so I was just watching this video, these riots and stuff, and my mind was blown. I had never heard any sound like this in my life, and I see the bumper for the band and all that, and it's like Rage Against the Machines. And like my cousin, he comes in and like changes the channel. He's like, little kids shouldn't be watching this. And I'm like, dude, whatever, man. Like that shit was cool. And there was another instance. I'm probably gonna lose goth points for this one, but I was like 9, I think, and I was forced to go to church like every Sunday. And there was this one Sunday, they were uh, they were talking about this dude. They're like, he claims he's the Antichrist and he burns Bibles. And I'm like, this dude sounds cool as fuck, man. Like, I had never heard of anybody like that in my life. And they're like, yeah, and his name's Marilyn Manson. And I was like, who? So I looked him up, and I was like, all right, that's fucking rad. And so that was another kind of gateway as well into like alternative shit. And yeah,
definitely. Do you mind me asking, like, how like, what years this was, I guess? Or if you even mind me asking your age now, you don't have to answer.
I am. I'll be 39 this year.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm 34, so I'm just like trying to like line up like the timelines.
yeah,
So yeah, definitely. I mean, Marilyn Manson is obviously huge, and the Misfits, even though they were older, they were still like really big and influential back then.
yeah.
So definitely.
So I think that may have been like um probably around like, I don't know, like I fucking suck at math. I'm over here trying to do the math in my head when that actually happened, but I don't know. Probably like
Yeah,
something. Uh,
no worries. I feel like that gives like a frame of reference. So thank you for sharing your age.
no,
Um, okay, so if your introduction to uh well, actually you actually already explained your introduction to alternative music. So I know you said that you and your friends weren't involved in the punk scene. involved in the local punk scene eventually, or what was the first scene you were kind of a part of, if you were part of any scene?
Um, fuck. I'm trying to think. Life has been so long. It seems. I guess like so when I was like 18, 19, I just graduated from military school because I was bad, and yeah, that's where I got sent to military school, and um, so yeah, I got suckered into joining the military pretty much. So I was stationed in Japan, and there was like they had a punk scene there as well, and that's like the first shows I started going to on my own, and yeah, that's pretty much how that. Goddamn cat hair. That's how that got started. I did go to one show as a teenager. It was this one band. God damn it! I don't even know if I want to mention them because it's. But it was like my first show. Mindless Self Indulgence.
Oh, I remember that name. Is there a problem with that band? Because if so, I have no idea. I just remember the name back in the
I've
day.
heard some shit about them, and
Mm.
yeah, I don't. Yeah,
Well, you know, we all have our first shows, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like we knew that back then, you know?
Yeah.
So that's really interesting, though. Thank you for sharing about,
Oh,
I had no idea you were in the military and like you were in the punk scene in Japan. That's actually pretty awesome.
yeah.
Um,
And when I came back home, I played in a few punk bands and a few like hardcore bands and stuff. And that's when I was more involved in the scene here in Louisville in my like early 20s, mid 20s. And yeah.
awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Um, so the punk scene in Louisville, when you were eventually like playing in bands or just like the alternative scenes in Louisville, period, how would you summarize the scene and your experience in that scene back then or even now, if you would say that you're involved in the scene nowadays?
Oh, the punk scene's always been great here. You know, there's a lot of good bands. There's always been a lot of good bands here, and that's I don't know. It's a very Louisville has a really cool music scene. Um, Mostly for like metal and punk and hardcore, but like the goth scene is kind of tiny, but it's like slowly growing. And what was the question again? I'm sorry, my brain just like fucking.
No, no worries. Uh, just like with the scene, how you would summarize the scene, from your experience back then and now.
Oh yeah, yeah, it's great. It's great.
Awesome. And then obviously you and your music is contributing to expanding the goth scene there as well. I want to say hello to the chat. We've had Missy is alive saying hello, um, asking earlier if the punk scene is much different. I'm assuming if it was much different to the goth scene, but you kind of just touched on that a little bit. I'm not sure if you want to have anything to add to that. Um,
Oh what?
oh, just we had someone in the chat asking if the punk scene was much different than the goth scene. You kind of touched on that just now about, the goth scene was kind of small, but I don't know if you have any other anything else you would want to add about that.
Oh well, yeah. It's slowly growing. Like there's more bands coming out. And yeah, I think that's really cool. I wish it would grow faster. You know, I kind of want to start like a bunch of goth bands with people and just like quit so they can do it. And it's like, all right, now we have more bands in the scene.
That's a really good idea, actually. That's one way to make it happen. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
And then we had Bradezel or something, saying hello, hello. And then Sunny is a Swedish elder goth. Hello, thank you for being here. She said my first show as a kid was a Euro disco band from Italy named Scotch. Oh, awesome! I've never heard of them, but that sounds cool. She said I think I should be more embarrassed. No, you shouldn't be embarrassed. My first concert was like Ricky Martin or something.
I
Uh,
remember that that same
yeah.
came out with Live Loca. Was that it?
Yeah, exactly. And then last time he said the local punk band where I lived, the beginning of the 80s was terrible. Well, thank you all for sharing. First shows are always fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so being a solo artist, like speaking of creating music, let's get into that. So being a solo artist, you have to do everything yourself. So what aspects of writing, recording, and producing came naturally, and which parts, if any, did you not enjoy or find more difficult?
I'll start with the things that are difficult.
Okay.
Mixing and mastering and all that stuff. Like I cannot stand it. Like I would have like 12 albums out right now if I didn't have to worry about that. But yeah, I can't stand that part of it. I like to write, like music. And yeah, it gets really expensive when you get other people into the mix to like, do the post production stuff, like mix master. So I just learned all that stuff on my own. It's not like I wanted to do it, but to be like self sufficient, like I had to learn everything. So, it definitely saves money at the end of the day to have this knowledge. And then I can do that stuff for other people as well. But yeah, I like the writing part, that's my favorite part.
Awesome. Yeah, it definitely seems like the funnest part. Although I'm sure some people out there have fun with the mixing and mastering. It definitely seems like the part that I like, oh, it's like scared, like where do you even start? So, that being your least favorite part, and obviously you still doing it on your own, was there anything, well, I guess two questions. One, how long did it kind of take you to be able to get to a point where you're able to like release music doing those aspects? And also, were there any tools or resources that you'd recommend to anyone else who's, going through the same process?
Oh, I learned everything I know on YouTube. Everything. So
Gotta love YouTube.
yeah, I know, right? Every everything I learned about mixing and mastering, I learned on YouTube, and all the knowledge is out there for free. So you just have to want to do it. That's really the thing. And it's difficult, but I mean, if you learn it, then you have that knowledge.
Thank you. Well, there you go. Free resource for everyone, YouTube. And then how long did it take you, would you say, to kind of, go from starting to learn it to actually being able to put it into practice and feeling confident about it or comfortable enough to like release your music?
Um, I thought that I was decent at it. Like my first song I released like ages ago. Like I think like 2012 is when I first started home recording, and I would just dabble around, and I'm like, yeah, I think I'm decent at this, and just like post songs, and like I I don't know, the production was awful, but it was a starting point, and yeah, I have some really awful music out there on Bandcamp, like under some other names.
Well, no pressure to share, but I feel like, because I mean, obviously, I mean, I'm a huge fan of your music in Scary Black, so when I listen to it, there's never a part of me that thinks like, "Oh, this isn't like mixed and mastered well." So obviously, you must have come a long way since then. But if you ever do feel so inclined to share, I'm sure that would be inspiring for others to see like, you just have to start. If
Yeah,
you want to get good, you just have to start.
yeah, you have to start. Like you can't just like you're not just gonna be good at it from the beginning. You gotta put time and effort into things, and
Mhm.
I'm sure people know that. But yeah, it's just work.
Mm,
You know, if you want to do it, you'll do it.
definitely, that makes sense. So in 2018, speaking of releasing music, you started releasing music as Scary Black. So when did you start creating dark wave, and what led you down the path of the solo dark wave artist?
Um, I played in a band with this guy in like 2011, 2012, or wait, 20. I can't even these years. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it was like 2011. God damn. And he showed me like he inspired me to like home record stuff, you know, and yeah, so I got all my equipment and stuff, and that's when I thought that I should figure some things out, and I always wanted to start like a dark wave kind of thing, and yeah, I actually started making stuff in like 2012, 2013. I have like a project before Scary Black. It has god damn, I don't know if I should mention it. There's some, I don't know, like,
No pressure. Only only if you want to.
but yeah, I released like 5 albums underneath this project.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah, and eventually I kind of carved out a little sound that I'd been working on, and then I started releasing stuff as Scary Black. Well, I guess that started with my sobriety in 2018, and I got really focused on my music, and I'm not when I'm not fucked up, I can think a little bit clearer, I guess, and it made me focus like 100% on my music, and I started taking it more serious then, and yeah, yeah. Um, I'll probably send you some of the old stuff just so you can.
Oh, thank you. I would love to hear. I really would love to hear it. Especially, I mean, one because I'm a fan of your music, but two, just from everything you've just described, I love seeing the progression of, not only like the music writing aspect, but also in your case, the development of like your sound and the mixing and mastering. That would be awesome.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and congratulations on your sobriety, by the way. That's a huge deal.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. So if well, I guess we could dive into that more. Um, you are self-described as introverted on your Instagram, and have previously mentioned in the previous interview with Obscura and Dead how you don't really like to leave your home, which is relatable. Like I struggle with that, and people who struggle with that like struggle with it for different reasons. But either way, I know like what it can be like. So you have also mentioned that you have some unresolved issues from childhood, which is also relatable. Um, do the unresolved issues contribute to what makes it hard for you to leave your home and why you became a solo artist? If you feel comfortable sharing any specifics, or you could be as vague as specific as possible, or we could just totally skip that question.
Yeah, there's there's that all those issues come out in my music. You know, um, I'm in therapy now. Finally, but so I'm working on it. I used to use music as therapy. Like I would write about an issue and then I would just like try to forget about it. I'm like, all right, it's out in the world and I don't have to think about that anymore, And I wouldn't necessarily say, well, I guess it does like contribute into why I don't really I do like leaving the house. It's just I don't know. There's so many experiences that you can have leaving the house that you don't want to be a part of, and it's just a lot more chill to be at home, I guess. And yeah, that interview was like at a different I was in a different point in my life then as well. Things were, I was, that was just a whole different lifetime ago at this point. My life has changed so much since then. So I mean, I do appreciate people more, and the company of friends and stuff. But yeah, you know, things have changed quite a bit. I guess I could just say like my divorce and everything, right? Like, yeah, that was a huge turning point in my life.
And do you mind if I ask like what year that was?
That was uh 2020, well, officially last year, but
Oh, okay. Oh, wow. So you're really like going through like it sounds like a kind of a roller coaster.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But trying my best.
Well, there are many of us out here who appreciate you and see that you're doing a lot. And honestly, like I said, congratulations on your sobriety, but also on going to therapy. Like I know that's not always accessible, slash, depending on the therapist, not necessarily always helpful, but
Yeah,
it's still a step to take for each individual because when you do find a good therapist, ooh, it can be like a game changer.
yeah, absolutely.
So I just want to show some appreciation for your music here. Like sonically, it is very addicting. That's like one of the reasons I love your music. I can't stop listening to it when I started listening to it. Um and especially Are You Afraid of the Dark is a song that like hooked me. Just like that. I don't even know what you would call it. Is it like the flute intro? I don't
Oh,
know what the
a little pan flute. Yeah,
Yeah, I love it so much. It's so catchy. And I feel like a lot of your music is like that. So I really also appreciate like like your music lyrically. Songs like The Root of Self-Hate and The Crushing Weight, kind of touching on things that you talked about or sort of alluded to, just things that could be really heavy. So I just appreciate you saying those things out loud. So oh no,
did
did
you
we lose
freeze?
each other? Yeah.
Uh,
I'm like, sorry if my internet goes out. I'm not sure where I cut off.
you kept talking. I heard everything you said. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, no, I just want to appreciate you for that and for saying these things out loud, which can be difficult, but like you said, it sounds like can also be therapeutic. Um, so how much of that, I know that it's been like a roller coaster and you've been experiencing different things over the last years. And you did mention that like releasing songs about certain things, you can forget about it. Do you find like that to be wholly true, or does it like do these things like still come back? And do you have to, is that one of the reasons you're going to like therapy, or do you find that like writing a song and releasing mostly gets it out?
I feel like writing it and releasing it mostly gets it out, but there's still work that needs to be done that you don't see yourself, and I don't know. The work is never done, and yeah, writing songs does help a lot. It helps a whole lot, and I'm just glad that I have the ability to do so because I don't know what the fuck I would be doing if I didn't. You know.
Well, thank you for being so open about all of that. I do think it's also good for others to hear too who might be going through similar things, like you can have these outlets, like art can be an outlet, therapy, and just like the self-awareness to, like you said, work on yourself, which I think we're all, if we're lucky, we're all gonna do forever. I think when you don't grow and don't have self-awareness, that's kind of when it's like more dangerous.
Uh,
Um, yeah, but thank you. Um, so how has getting a fan base impacted you as an introvert, dealing with the issues you spoke of? Has your fan base, touring, or any other aspect of Scary Black impacted your mental health positively or negatively? You already kind of touched on that, but I don't know if there's anything else you would want to add.
I'm just surprised when anybody likes anything that I create, honestly. So that makes me happy that people actually give a shit about it, you know. And it's like I didn't really expect anyone outside my friend group to even care about my music, and now that it's like you know, it's really wild, honestly, and I appreciate everyone who listens to it because that's something that I never expected to ever happen, you know. And the word fan, I'm still trying to get used to that word fan, you know, and it's like I don't know, just it just feels weird. Like I just call them friends, you know. You know, we can all be friends, I hope.
I love that. Absolutely. And oh, I just love that so much. Like that's like just shows like how humble you are as well.
Yeah, you know, like I've met some incredible people out there, you know, and people that I would have never met in my life that I don't know, it's just wild. It's a wild experience.
That's awesome. That's awesome to hear. Um, so speaking of people and connecting, when we started this interview, we talked about your punk friends and being involved with the punk scene later on, and in Japan. So being an introverted dark wave artist, do you feel like you're part of any specific goth scenes, like local or online or offline, or what communities do you feel like you're part of or not part of? That maybe people would, assume that you would be connected to.
I have no idea. You know, I know I'm connected to the local scene, you know, and you know, after touring, it's like, all right, I guess this is I don't know, the goth scene is really small when you think about it, like globally, because it's like everybody knows everybody. So I feel really connected to even like people far away, you know, and yeah, yeah, I don't sorry, sometimes
No, no,
uh
don't be sorry. No, that's so true, and, like, one of kind of the, in my opinion, awesome parts of the scene is just, like, how those connections can be built because it is so small. Like, unlike, metal, which is still kind of technically subgenre or less pop culture than, like pop or like some of the bigger genres is huge. Like metal's such a huge genre. When you like compare it to goth, it's like actually, yeah, so small. So I definitely understand like people who are into the same music, it can definitely be like an easy way to connect. So that's awesome.
yeah, everybody knows everybody, it seems like I don't know, it's like you get five people in a room and it's like they may not know each other, but like those individual people probably know the entire guy,
Right.
you know.
That's so true. It's like, what do they call it? I forget what they call it, but it's like the rule of like degrees or something. It's probably like even less in
Yeah.
goth. Awesome. And Sunny's, thank you so much for being here and engaging in the chat. Sunny said, oh, Sunny's asked if there was a reason you preferred to be a solo artist, which I do believe. I mean, I believe you answered that question. But if there's anything else you'd like to add to why you prefer solo, that was her question from earlier.
Um, why do I prefer solo being a solo artist? I have a band. Um, you know, this band called Moon Ruins. It's sort of like we were a metal band. Like we played like black metal, but now we're like a rock band. And yeah, I like to do things on my own. I've always liked to do things on my own since I was a kid. You know, just to have my own little thing. And you know, it's just like it's one thing to have four or five different minds in a room, and sometimes things are really difficult then. And all these ideas. I mean, it's great to have different ideas, but sometimes you have an idea of how you want things to go, and it's just much easier to do it on your own sometimes, I think.
Definitely. That totally makes sense. And then Sunny said YouTube is great for lots of things in reference to learning how to mix and master through YouTube. And then it's great when creative people can release stuff from the inside, from the former bar. Absolutely. Yeah. So thank you again for being open and honest about all of that. So something I'm like so curious. I mean, I'm curious about all of this, but your style on stage. You mentioned previously that you had a mix in mind between like a raven and a fallen angel in mid fall. Um, so for the amazing outfits that you wear on stage and the masks and everything, but you also said you have a hard time taking yourself seriously. So when people ask what's the inspiration behind it, you usually say a scary bird. So I want to know more about like the fallen angel imagery. What was relatable to you about that, and what specifically made you want to kind of portray that?
Um, church, growing up in church.
That's so interesting,
Yeah,
and like way more like straightforward than I was expecting, to be honest.
yeah. And, it's at the end of the day, it's all goofy. It's all silly shit, and I don't know. It's just the thing that like church played a huge role in my life as a kid. Like every Sunday, I was living in that place. And yeah, if you force somebody into a lifestyle, they're gonna not want to do that. It's kind of get what you put in a way, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. How do you mind if I ask like how old you, like from what age to what age roughly did you were you forced to go to church?
From like 0 to 15, I think. And I got kicked out of my mom's house at a certain point because and I had to stay with my dad. And at his church, they go to church on Saturdays and Friday, and that just made everything even worse for me. I guess like, all right, I'm done with. When I become an adult, I am never fucking. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So you were like once a week, every week from like 0 to 15, and then double that from what, like 15 to 18?
I stayed with him for like a year,
Okay.
and then I came back home, back to live with my mom, and I think she had just pretty much given up at a certain point. It's like whatever, and yeah, that's how that went, and yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. So, to get back to the fallen angel imagery, is that just kind of your way of saying like you fell away from like the church?
Yeah, you kind of nailed that.
I mean, it was pretty explicit, but I just wanted to make sure I was like fully understanding the,
It's
the
me finding my own path, and just doing my own thing in life, and that's the visual I received from it.
That's so interesting. Like that's just like so interesting on a lot of levels because like the idea of an angel, right? Which is like I guess this kind of aspirational, like holy thing that we're supposed to want to be. And then your depiction of doing what you want is to kind of be falling from that.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's just like so interesting. Like all these things that we're like all these expectations, all these like weird societal structures, and then to fall away from those things to actually like be who you are. That's I know you said it's goofy, but it's also like really deep. It's awesome.
and things, that's how I feel.
Mhm. Awesome. Well, Goofy is fun. So,
Goofy, not the dog. I mean, yeah, he's cool, I guess.
yeah. Oh, I love Goofy too. Um, okay, so yeah, thank you again for sharing that.
Yeah.
So the last reference to your interview that you had with Obscura and Dad, I just had follow-up questions as I was curious. Um, So, in that interview, you understandably said that you have too many musical influences to list them all, but you did highlight, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Ennio Moric.
Or
Moric? How do
yeah,
you say it?
my aunt, she would watch westerns a lot as when I was a kid, you know, and my household was like mostly just like gospel music and Motown, and that was I don't know. There's something about the Western music that just like, and you can hear it a lot in goth music as well. You know, the little spurt guitar. You know, and I'm sorry, I'm getting really excited, but
No, I love it.
but no, it's just like Western and like surf. There's like all these like intersections where they I don't know. You like listen to that song First and Last and Always by Sisters of Mercy, you know? It's got the down 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 down. Just
Yeah.
and there's a lot of connections there and I don't know.
I love that so much. Like, literally, you're like the first person I've ever heard say that. Um, and I love it because it's true. Like the threads of similarities and the guitar, and also is it like I love hearing people's like background stories of like what influences them because, like you said, in your household, if all you were hearing was like Motown and gospel music, then this is like something different, and it's like that's your like hook to something
Yeah,
different and where like the thread starts. It's just so interesting.
yeah. And yeah, I just love the whole vibe of the sound, you know, and yeah, I have a ton more influences as well, but that was one that just like I don't know, just really stuck with me.
Yeah. Awesome. No, I love that. Because it's also so unexpected, I think. Like typically I feel like within like when you ask a musician like who are your influences, I think people typically expect them to list people from like their genre, um, not like movie score composers, you know what I mean? So that is awesome. Um, and yeah, I feel like that's like a more real experience for more musicians than anything else. Um, so can you share at least one other musical influence that comes to mind?
Um, uh, at least one.
Yeah, at least one, because I know in the other interview you said we'd be here all day. But I mean, feel free to list
Oh,
more.
Clan, Clan of Zymox. That album Medusa is God. I fucking love that album. It's that album alone is like a huge influence. And shit, I'm drawing a blank now.
No
um,
worries. And do you remember when you were introduced to the album?
fuck, it was a while ago. Probably in my like early 20s, mid 20s. You know, I heard it. I was just like, "Yup, this is it." You know, and yeah, God, it's such a great album. And I have a few songs that are like I would say they're like reflections of that album. I guess I like see the color blue when I hear that album, Medusa, and I wrote two songs that I also see the color blue when I it's Starlight Dancer and Ice Rose. Like
Yes. Actually, it's funny because even though it's like one of your, released a while ago, I've been obsessed with that song lately. So that's so funny. Starlight Dancer, that's so funny that you say that.
yeah, yeah, and just I don't know, like that. God, all right, I can talk about that album all day.
No, this is awesome. I love seeing like the influence and like obviously the like passion that you have for everything that inspires you. So amazing. Yeah, thank you again for sharing.
Yeah.
Um, so on the flip side of that, like, you have the influences, the bands that influence you, are there any smaller, lesser known artists that you're a fan of, that you would like to highlight? And if so, what do you appreciate about their music?
Um, Yeah, there's a few. I am a big fan of it's one of my friends' bands, and I can't even remember the name right now.
No worries. We can always like
I
link
can't
it in the
think. I'm drawing a blank, but God, he hasn't even released a full album, and fuck, what is
So this is like a band, newer project?
it's not even newer. He dropped the stuff around like 2018, 19, and he just hasn't
Okay.
touched it. Oh my god, I can't think of the name of the stuff. Um,
Don't worry. We can always link
oh,
it in the description. Oh, you got
oh,
it.
called Love Under Will. Yeah, that's what he called it. And he hasn't even dropped a full album, but his stuff is really good. And you know, what was I gonna? I'm sorry, I blink out a lot.
Don't apologize. Honestly, the same thing happens to me. Like literally the exact same thing. I'm like in the middle of saying something and I'm like, what was I saying? So don't worry at all. But yeah, no, that's awesome. I would definitely like to check them out. So I'll ask you later for the links. I can
Oh,
check
you
them out. Oh, I
okay?
froze
You're
my internet.
all right. You're good. You're good.
Okay. My internet's acting up. Um, but yeah, we can add the links to the description so anyone watching can check them out. That's awesome. I love it. Showing love to your friend. And if you don't mind me asking, was there anything specific that like hooked you to
I
their
was
music or that you appreciate about it?
like the whole vibe of it was so cool, you know, and I'm like, this is dope, bro. Like, fucking make more of this stuff. It's really good, and I don't know. I don't know. He has other projects that he's doing, and you know, they come first. But I'm like, this is really good. You should work on this. But you know,
Definitely. Oh, that's such a real like musician friend group thing. Like I had a friend who's a drummer and like my favorite band he ever had, he like dropped it and didn't pay attention to it. I'm like, dude, come on. That was like the best.
yeah,
Uh
you know.
Okay, awesome. So, since you started releasing music in 2018, I mean, you've released a ton of music, and you just said earlier that under another name, you released like 5 albums between like 2012 and 2018. That's so much. And you released a ton under Scary Black as well, especially considering the circumstances of like what happened in like 2020 and everything. So, you've released a ton of music. Um, and your most recent release, on Love, I felt like was really different from a lot of your previous releases. Oh no, I apologize. First we're gonna talk about Everything Rots because that was the first single that you released last year, which also was very different from anything you had previously released.
Oh, you froze on.
Auditory. Oh no,
Oh,
did I? We're
yeah,
good.
yeah.
I'm so sorry. Internet issues. Um, But yeah, your single that you released, "Everything Rots," I feel like is the auditory embodiment of standing in a tomb. Like, that's really how it makes me feel. And the title of the song basically is self-explanatory to what it sounds like. So can you speak more to what inspired that song, like, sonically and lyrically, and what was going on with you at that time that you wrote "Everything Rots"?
That was like right when my whole life changed, and I was grieving my failed marriage, you know, and it was a really dark period, and that's just how I felt. I wanted to write exactly how I felt, and that's what came out of me. I know it wasn't really like a usual scary black kind of vibe, you know, but I just wanted to, I don't know, I just wrote what I felt. and that's what came out. I wasn't even gonna make it a Scary Black song at first, but I was like, I'll just go ahead and release it, But yeah,
Uh,
it was really, really dark era, you know.
Definitely, I mean, you can hear it. You really can hear it. So that definitely comes through. Um, and kind of on the opposite end of that spectrum a little bit. Not actually not all the way opposite, but speaking of Unlove, the second release from last year was also very different. It had elements like the acoustic guitar, which I personally hadn't heard you incorporate before, and cry. Oh no, I think I lost internet again.
Oh,
Oh, no, I'm here. We're
yeah.
good? Okay. Um, but yeah, Unloved seriously made me cry. Just like the lyrics, everything that you said in that song, just like I think the lyric that got me the most was like I'm all alone, you were my home, I love you. Like, oh, like even saying that aloud, like it kind of like hits the feels. But as kind of sad and dark as that song was, it had this like really happy sound. It's like a really cute sound, I would even describe it as. And you have that contrast in a few other songs like Youth is Hell and Transatlantic Tears. So can you speak to like what inspired those songs, including the contrast between like the subject and the sound?
Um, yeah. I guess with On Love, that's pretty obvious. Um, I was listening to the Cure's love song over and over and over and over and over before I wrote that. I just I get on some of these days. I just like I'll listen to a song 1,000 times. And I went out for a little bit to hang out with some friends, and then I just start hearing a melody in my head, like the keyboard melody to that song, and I'm like, "Hey, y'all, I gotta bounce. I gotta go write this song right now," And I wrote that song within like a day, and yeah, I wanted to, you know, just I wanted to focus more on the lyrics with that one because usually I just focus on the music, and yeah, I just those lyrics just kind of came out of me, and yeah, I guess I wanted it to be like, yeah, this is how I really feel, but I'm gonna try to smile anyway, and that's why there's that juxtaposition of like the happiness and you know and um Youth is Hell. I don't know what that first album I made was just like kind of like a clusterfuck of just like sounds really, and I guess I pretty much had the same idea. Are you
Yeah, sorry, I'm like an overactive listener. Like I'll be like, oh yeah, so I like I mute
oh,
myself just so I'm not annoying everybody.
all right? But yeah, and with Transatlantic Tears, I just wanted to experiment with something different. Really, like I don't know. There's like a guitar solo kind of thingy in there. Just I don't know. Just wanted to try something different.
Awesome. Well, you could definitely hear it. Like I said, those. I mean, I guess those were technically your most recent singles back to back, and they were all a little bit different, um, sonically. But yeah, I really appreciate you sharing all of this because you can hear like what you're saying, like how in everything rots, like you were just in like that really like low dark place, and then still having a lot of those same feelings in unlove, but like trying to smile, and like it comes through in the music. It's amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, So thank you so much for your time. Wow, we're getting really close to the end here. So, some just a fun question. I don't know how you feel about Valentine's Day, but that's like right around the corner. So, if you were gonna make a Valentine's Day playlist, including some of your own songs, what would be some must-haves on there? And you could really go in any direction. It could be romantic, sensual, or like anti-Valentine's.
I'm not anti Valentine's or anything, but I don't know if I have the catalog for like love songs, But my first single, "Drown," I would definitely put that on there for Valentine's Day night, you know.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, and speaking of which, I want to write some more romantic shit stuff. Sorry, yeah,
No, don't apologize.
I would love to write some romantic music, but I got to get all these problems out of me first, and then you know, and maybe I'll have a romantic album one day. But until then, I'm gonna hear about these problems.
Well, clearly, clearly a lot of people love hearing about them and can relate, at least to some degree. Because obviously we're never all gonna relate on like the exact same level, but seriously, like it's spoken to me, your music has spoken to me, and it really comes through. Like you're really good at that, at taking like what you're feeling and actually like coming through. Because like we actually kind of messaged each other about the because I reacted to your unlove um song,
Oh
and I
yeah,
like brought up like, oh yeah, it like reminds me of like The Cure, and then you're like, and then right here is like you're saying that's what you're listening to, so like you're just so good at like bringing what's inside of you out. So that's amazing. Definitely looking forward to it all. And then last question, just looking into the future, what's in store for Scary Black in 2024 in terms of music, shows, or anything else that you have coming up that you'd like to share? And is there anything that you're also hoping for personally in this coming year?
um, well, for Scary Black, I'm trying to finish this album, and I want to release it this year. Finally, I just have to try to focus better on it, and currently booking a tour right now, so I'll be on tour later on this year, and and I'm just trying to heal. Really, that's that's the future plan. Just try to be better.
Amazing. Well, definitely very inspirational in a lot of ways, relatable. I'm also just trying to heal. That's also like my main focus right now.
Right.
So yeah, I definitely appreciate you, everything that you shared, being so open. This was really fun. So if you're ever down to do it again, I would definitely be down. And thanks to everyone who was hanging out in the chat. Before we say goodbye officially, I just want to see if anyone said anything. Um, yes. Sunny said that fallen angel bit takes my thoughts to some lyrics with the mission too. Awesome. And then Easy Bake Lovin'. Oh my god, that's such a good name.
That's awesome.
Easy Bake Lovin' said, yes, clan of I don't even know how you say it. Z-
I
Zymoth? Okay, I always said it wrong.
I don't know. That's what I think it's called.
We'll go with that because you definitely know more than I do how to pronounce that. Then Sunny said, "I'm a terrible remember of names too." Yeah, so you're not alone. Like sounds like a lot of us just like draw blanks. I definitely do. Oh, Juan Black stopped by. He said heading to practice, so wanted to pop in and say hi.
Hey,
Awesome. And then Easy Bake Levin said, yeah, releasing music is cheaper than therapy. Sunny said, Happy Valentine's Day.
oh, happy.
Uh, yeah, Happy Valentine's Day. And thanks for the interview. And Easy Bake Levin last said, also love Frozen Autumn and Screaming for Emily.
Oh yeah.
Awesome. And Juan Black said, Easy Bake Levin sounds like a song you add to that Valentine's Day list. It really does. Amazing. Well, thank you, chat, and thank you, Albie. Like, this is so awesome. Seriously, you've been one of my most listened to artists since 2020. That's when I found your music, and you're seriously like the best. Love everything you do, and very much looking forward to your releases this year
Oh, I'm gonna try my best to get those out.
or whenever. No pressure. No pressure. But awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, and we'll see you in the future.
All right. Do I?